Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Puff, Wonders of the Reef. Puff, Wonders of the Reef is an Australian nature documentary that focuses on the marine life within and around the proximity of Australia's Great Barrier Reef. It differs from most other nature docs in that it actually has a story of sorts set in place, centering around the life of a pufferfish named Puff. It explores Puff's life as he goes through stages of infancy, adolescence, and adulthood, and how he comes to make sense of and survive in the environment around him. In between Puff scenes, it also takes time to showcase various other species who all make their home in the same reefs as Puff does. Marine life is one of my favorite types of animals, so I absolutely could not pass up the opportunity to watch this. It fulfilled all of my expectations I had set out for it, which is essentially to be a relaxing and informative showcase of one of the greatest natural wonders the world has to offer. Puff's story does help to make it stand out from the crowd of other documentaries of its kind, though. I like seeing how curious he was of everything around him. He was always investigating things like rocks, coral, and occasionally predators who cross paths with him. The way the doc is filmed makes it appear as though the whole story is unfolding through Puff's eyes. It puts the audience in a unique perspective in which we get to feel the same sense of wonder and danger as a fish Puff's size would, turning seemingly harmless things like anemones and snails into legitimate threats. These threats are where Puff starts to realize his survival mechanisms, ranging from bright colors he flashes to ward off predators, to his ability to inflate himself like a balloon to scare them away and even free himself from their grasp. It was amazing to see these skills being put into action live in front of a camera. It's one thing to read about them and another thing to see a pufferfish puff itself up in captivity, but having the chance to see it do so in the wild in a genuine life or death situation is fascinating on a whole other level. As I said earlier though, Puff isn't the only animal that gets the spotlight. The documentary is loaded with tons of different animals like cuttlefish, shrimps, snails, and numerous types of coral and sponges which compose the majority of the reefs. The coral in particular could be considered a supporting character alongside Puff. I knew that coral has a large role in maintaining a viable ecosystem for many kinds of marine life, but I had no idea how grand of a scale the role was until I saw the documentary. We get to see how massive their reproduction cycle is and learn how much time it takes for coral to grow as big as it does. As with Puff, it was super cool to see the level of detail committed to showcasing the life of coral. The way it's portrayed in the documentary really drives the point home of how every creature and organism has its place and an important role in its environment. On a similar note, it also does not shy away from the impact that climate change has on these same reefs. Once again, I knew a little bit about coral bleaching and how rising water temperatures are causing it, but it wasn't until I watched this documentary where I learned how grand of a scale the destruction of these reefs was. Seeing Puff and other animals drift about beds of dead and broken coral trying to find food broke my heart. It drives the point home how fragile coral reefs really are, but doesn't dwell on the destruction so much that it becomes depressing to watch. It shows damaged reefs reproducing following this and provides a message of hope, which I do appreciate. Everything else about the documentary is pleasant and relaxing. It goes without saying that the footage filmed is a feast for the eyes, with beautiful and colorful scenery and animals in just about every frame, combined with a soothing ambient soundtrack. I like that there were moments of silence as well sprinkled throughout the documentary. They serve as nice breaks from the main story, as well as giving viewers an opportunity to soak in the surroundings, of which there's a large variety, including reefs, sand flats, and tree groves, just to name a few. And it's at this point that I have to give a big shout out to Rose Byrne, who serves as the narrator for the documentary. Her voice is sublime for the role as she adds further to the tranquility of the documentary's tone. However, she also gets the chance to inject some personality into the story too. There are a few scenes that are quite humorous in nature, and Rose is always quick to say something witty about it. I think my favorite scene has to be the one where she narrates a race between one snail hunting another and makes it out to be a big thrill, only for the camera to zoom out so we can see how slow they're actually going. While that scene is quite funny, it also reinforces the theme regarding how reef animals go through the same cycle of life and death as any other animal despite being smaller than others, yet for whatever reason much of it flies under our radar. The story and scenery flows well in the documentary. I didn't expect the quality of the editing to be as good as it was here. One scene that sticks out is how the filmmakers use a fish swimming past the camera as a wipe effect transition from one area to the next. It was seamless in its implementation and helped maintain a sense of immersion. version. The only complaint I can really think of is more of a nitpick than anything else. Throughout the documentary, I wondered if Puff remained the same pufferfish in the entirety of its story or not. There were a few times I noticed where it seemed like its color pattern changed, despite not having aged all that much. And to be fair, it's totally possible that I'm overanalyzing that aspect, but for a documentary that's only an hour in length and with only half or so of its footage actually dedicated to Puff, it made me question if they really followed one specific fish in the wild for a multi-year period, as the narration suggests. Overall, Puff Wonders of the Reef is an excellent nature documentary that teaches its audience about the importance of coral reefs while using a fun, lighthearted story to hold their attention. If you enjoy nature documentaries and you want to see one with a message regarding climate change behind it that isn't too overbearing, as well as having a narrative of sorts, I highly recommend that you check this one out. Puff's story alone was worth the price of admission, which makes everything else around him that much more captivating. Beautiful cinematography, entertaining narration, a variety of animals, and the emotional weight of its story all work together to perfectly capture the wonder that is the Great Barrier Reef. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Puff Wonders of the Reef. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American comedy Don't Look Up. Bye bye!